This was her night, and she was not contagious because she was a healthy 17-year-old girl who just couldn't swallow without the threat of tears. Holly took a step back toward her own room. Ugh, Brynn, it's so cliché to like a guy like Spencer Matthews. He's like too perfect. Any girl would get an inferiority complex around someone like that. Better yet, I bet he's so good his girlfriends don't even get mad. They get bored. I think the best guy is the one who pisses you off every now and then. Like Patrick and Kat in 10 Things I Hate About You. Life was not some romantic comedy. Holly was full of shit. Of course, Spencer was perfect. That's why she'd crushed on him the whole year, biding her time until he was single, and would maybe, hopefully, look at her the way she looked at him. Today she was sure he did, or would once they found a moment alone tonight. If being a hot, smart, football-playing marching band drummer was a crime, Brynn wanted to be his willing accomplice. Seriously, a guy who started pregame on the field with the band, in his form-fitting football uniform, and spent the rest of the game as running back? How hot was that? Brynn attempted a groan, which really freaking hurt, but she wouldn't give whatever plague she was carrying the satisfaction. If anything, a 24-hour bug had taken up residence in her throat, which meant she was at least a quarter of the way through it at this point. She was probably already on the mend. "Have you ever felt fireworks?" she asked. Holly answered her sister with a roll of her eyes and slid down the wall until she sat on the floor in the hallway, still keeping clear of Brynn's room. "Okay," Holly said, waving her on. "I'm comfortable, and this feels like a safe distance from patient 0. Brynn wanted to groan, but she thought better of what that would feel like on her throat, and instead plopped down on the foot of her bed, sweat beading at her hairline. "Fireworks," Brynn said again. "Falling in love, knowing you're in love, because when you kiss the guy who's the right guy..." She closed her eyes and smiled dreamily, despite how miserable she felt. Holly took the liberty of finishing her sentence. "Fireworks?" Brynn nodded, then opened her eyes. "That and I'm a Believer will start playing in my head. Love doesn't come with fireworks and soundtracks filled with songs by the Monkees. Not that I'll ever understand how Mom got you obsessed with a 40-plus-year-old boy band. I think you might be delirious with fever or something." Holly laughed. "Hey, maybe that explains your taste in music, too." Brynn huffed. "Whatever. You're only 15. You've never been in love." Before Holly could offer a rebuttal, the front door opened, and Brynn let out a tiny whimper of relief, because if there was one thing Holly could call her on, it was Brynn never having been in love either. God, if she could just make it to the party and kiss Spencer, she knew there'd be fireworks. Plus Mickey Dolenz and Davy Jones harmonizing in her head. No delirium necessary. But with the sounds of footsteps bounding up the stairs, Brynn's dream slipped further away. It was for sure Jamie, because he never knocked. He was practically a resident in the Chandler house. Jamie would take one look at her in a turtleneck and yoga pants and put the kibosh on the whole operation. Time to rally. Brynn pulled her hair out of the bun sitting atop her head and finger-combed the curls. Then she swiped on some lip gloss and affixed her best smile until she tried to swallow, and her eye betrayed her with a rogue tear. Jamie appeared at the top of the stairs and stopped in the doorway, his too straight, sandy hair slicked back like Leo DiCaprio in the Titanic ballroom scene. Brynn sighed. She loved Titanic. Why couldn't Rose just move over on that piece of driftwood? There was definitely room for two. Brynn blinked a couple of times.